Longtime friend, Mr. Adrian Nez, nice and bundled up. I don't think we're genetically made for this cold weather, man.
No, I love being bundled up. I'm one of those guys when I travel. First thing I do when I get into the hotel room is crank that AC up. I just like being cold. Like I being able to bundle up because I feel like you have control over being cold. But when you're hot, you can get stripped naked and you're still hot. That sucks.
Yeah,
So
that's true, man. Well, Adrian has been on the podcast before and a longtime friend of us and InvestorFuse. Amazing guy. One of the biggest go givers in the industry. I remember when I first read that book and found out what that term was. Adrian has embodied that ever since. Nick Perry, who I just interviewed on the last episode, we all met at the same Flip to Freedom event or Extreme Freedom event probably 5 years ago at this point, which is pretty crazy. But Adrian is the absolute man. I'm not going to give a typical introduction here because you guys know him, but he has his own real estate business, has worked with Carrot for a long time, specializes in online lead gen, SEO, all things above. And like I said, first and foremost, father, husband, and helps out a lot of people. Literally, even before getting started here, is trying to hook me up with helping him out and getting paid and stuff like that. So he's always been like that, and it's just escalating more and more, which is amazing and inspiring to
yeah.
see. Someone I definitely look up to in that regard, and a few others. But this podcast, I asked Adrian what he wanted to talk about, and we're going to talk a little bit about consistency and being you. I have a few other talking points to go to, but I think to start this off, man, we're in February of 2021, almost a year here in COVID times or quarantine times. Would love to hear what you're up to with online marketing and your real estate business, how you're doing mentally in life, and how the family and everything is. I love that you share content with the kids, which I have a few speaking points that we'll hit on, but
Yeah.
kind of just want to hear a State of the Union address of Adrian Nez.
Yeah, dude, thank you again. I was awesome to connect with you and the team there and just this podcast. It's always cool because I think part of it's interesting that this topic we have is, I guess we're jumping in a little bit with it already. Is I think when you're being you, when you're being yourself, and in all aspects of really just not really in everyday life, not just business, because I think sometimes we have the tendency of we turn it on for business and then we'll go out of our way for strangers, but then we don't do the same thing for our family. It's so easy to caught up in that. I've done it. I've been guilty of it. It's, I don't know, something about human nature. I can totally be a go giver for strangers and colleagues, but yet I won't give a time of day or give time to, let's say, my wife that maybe that probably needs and wants it more than, than the everyday person. So, but I think being a go giver, it's interesting you say that because it's, I think when you are who you are and you surround yourself and you put yourself out there, you will attract other go givers. As you're talking about that, I ran into Nick again about a couple months ago in Florida, and then some others that we also met. Like it's interesting to see them grow and see and you see that principle of a go giver in operation because guys, it's a principle. It's you give it's like you sow seed, you are going to reap a harvest. And if, so of course at the same time you got to have discernment. Everyone wants to play a giver, but then at the end of the day you'll find out if that's their true nature. So but you surround yourself around enough people and you just be you, which is a great topic that we're going to have. Is I think you will naturally surround yourself with those right people, and some people will weed out over time. Some people will come and go. I mean, there's some people that I've met that have been fabulous, awesome people that I haven't spoken to again. But then at the same time, you see them again, whether it's 3, 4, 5 years later. Like you just kind of pick up from the last time you saw them, and they're just there's really kind of a kindred spirit, I guess you can say. But yeah. So, anyways, what I've been up to. So, 2020. Humble and blessed to say that we've had the best real estate investing year. Part of it, I think, is so thankful that I made a decision to run the business the way that that is operated, meaning very lean, very dependent on online, don't do anything offline, And I'm so thankful that, and I feel like I chose an industry or a marketing channel that don't have regulations. I don't know, maybe Google will eventually have some, but it's just, I was so thankful that, man, like I made the decisions I made years ago, and I was in a good position going into this year with everything that went down, that we weren't really impacted. And I think part of it too is, as kind of, if you want to really go deep, I think when you sow enough seed, and you're also a tither, I really think you position yourself to be protected. I really believe that. So when other people are surviving, when you give enough, when you give, actually not enough, when you give more, and you're a tither, I feel like you're not going to be surviving. You're going to be thriving. And part of that is your mindset. You have to have that mentality first, I believe, but also put those right principles, right actions in motion. And I believe you'll be guided to make those decisions that will position you strong. So when things do hit the fan, that you're well positioned. Because we're always going to have issues. There's going to be other events that are probably going to occur, but what's going to help us be prepared is what we're doing today. Too many people are too reactive, meaning that they don't react until something happens. Like for an example, speaking about the kids, I shared on Instagram a couple of days ago, them each holding a piece of silver. And, I've been really kind of walking them through, just in the ways that they understand at their age, was, how our system works, how our financial system set up, and how the things that are happening, because, they're, obviously it's, the whole transition of leadership in our country, and how each side is always pulling on certain things. But one thing is, our country's in trouble when it comes to, the money it prints. So now, will we see the dollar crash in my lifetime? I don't know. But if it does, we want to be prepared. Now, if it doesn't in my lifetime and it does in my kids, I want to position them to where they're not only hedged, but also just prepared, and they're going to thrive. So right now we're just planting seed in their mind, like, hey, and they don't have to be business people. They don't have to get into real estate. They don't have to, one could be a pastor, one could be a teacher, but no matter what they do, they're going to always be prepared. And I think that's our job as parents. That's kind of one of the things that we've kind of taken on responsibility. So 2020, so felt like it was a great year. My relationship with Carrot, it's always fun teaching and helping other investors do what I've been able to do. That's a lot of fun. We maintain very well. I mean, I'm an introvert, so the whole staying home and being indoors didn't really have any impact on me. But at the same time, I think it also hopefully reflect to a lot of people that the importance of going to events. I think we took it for granted. Well, there's a thing too. I mean, there's always events everywhere. Everyone's putting it on, gurus, and there's that whole stigma to that. But I think it made me miss those events a little bit more, because now I really felt like the importance of those, and not necessarily it's the knowledge or information getting, which is good, but it's the network time. It's hanging out after the event. It's going, grabbing dinner, having drinks, whatever, and just building those relationships. Because I know, like in our circle, there's a handful of people that's how we built our relationship, is just hanging out time, at those events. So hopefully they'll bring those back. Hopefully they'll get back to normal, to where we can all kind of hang in person and have these important conversations. Because I think as entrepreneurs, we have to have people that we can confide on, because, we live a life that is unpredictable. It's not always easy. A lot of people always tend to say, it must be nice to have your own business, to do what you do. But I said, man, like I take on the responsibility to where I come in before 8 and I leave after 5, and I'm the last one to get paid. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to translate that as the good life, but when you take high risks, I mean, there are definitely potential high rewards, and I love what I do. And it's been good. So I encourage everyone that, have a different perspective, could be worse. And I'll say this one thing. I don't want to sound like I'm blabbing, but it's funny. The other day, me and my wife were having a conversation. We were going to church, and there was a van that broke down, and van broke down. It looks like it was an older lady with her son. Looks like she was getting help, so we didn't stop. So we just ended up still going to church. So, anyways, my wife later that day made a comment. She's just having a challenging day, and she said something like, "Man, like," and then I said, "No," I said, "That lady we saw earlier today is having a challenging day." So sometimes it's just our perspective. So we can use this time to thrive, or you just want to keep yourself in survival mode. And I just don't think that's the way that we're meant to live. So that's my State of the Union, but that's what's been kind of going on with me. And it's always cool to do these because, we get a chance to talk to and reach other people. So.
Love that. I love the mental framework to come from, or how you worded it, thriving instead of surviving. And Adrian is the first one in the building at work, last one to get paid, and also the first one to tithe and give back, which we're going to touch on. For the real estate business, Adrian, just for those who don't know, you're primarily doing wholesaling and fix and flips, right?
Yes. So wholesaling was always my thing because it was the easy thing to do when you generate leads the way that we've been doing it. But the interesting thing too is it's so funny. We're talking about the subject. Everything, if you'll see, guys, it always comes back around to this one thing that we're talking about, is being you. I didn't plan on flipping as much as we did this past year, but it was interesting. So, in our industry, the education business, teaching people how to raise money is a big topic. So people are trying to learn, paying big money to do it. But it's so funny when you're a go-giver, guys, good things happen. And this year, I had people just reaching out to me, not even soliciting, not even asking, coming to me and say, "Hey, Adrian, like I got money. I got to put it somewhere. Are you doing flips? I would love to be a private lender." And it's just so funny how then one person did it and then someone came a week later, and then it's just like at this time, it's almost like it was orchestrated and structured for that to happen, because it was just interesting how at the same time, I have multiple people come up to me. And here's the thing, I was very hesitant on it, to be honest, because to me, when you take someone's money, when you take someone's hard-earned cash that they've worked hard for, that's a big responsibility. And for a while, I almost didn't do it because I had this mindset and that, like, man, that's a big responsibility. I don't want, I just didn't feel comfortable with it. But I had a good talk with a friend of mine. She actually does teach private money. She really helped me understand it and frame it different. Like, listen, you don't need them, because I think that's where I was looking at it from that point of view. I said, they need you more than you need them. Like, they're going to put that money somewhere. And would you, and what if that person doesn't have the integrity that you have, or you don't have that, integrity basically to take care of them. And so anyway, I really kind of looked at it a different way. I said, you know what, that's a good point. And because I'm not a flipper by nature, I'm more of a cash flow person. That's just the way my mind thinks. So I just feel like it's a big responsibility. I always felt flipping is risky. So, but the cool thing is, it kind of worked out, because not only am I having people come to me wanting to lend, and I feel like they were more investing into me as well because of that trust. And then also because our leads came through online, because those leads are so good, it kind of worked out to where I was willing to take that risk. Because I felt our numbers were good enough to where even if anything were to kind of not happen right or something go wrong, we still had enough. We were in so good that we had a lot of flexibility to be very profitable. So, and the cool thing is, I did my first 6-figure profit deal on one property. And that was that's after the private lenders were paid. Everything we were just like a few dollars over that 6-figure. It was pretty cool on one property.
On a flip, traditional flip.
Yep. So that's why. So the combination of SEO, because that lead was an SEO lead, being able to pick that up at a very good amount, help that seller. Because that's why I look at it too, guys. We don't look to take advantage of sellers. Like, we look to really help and being sincere and be fair with when we deal with sellers. That's part of being you. is that when you do all those right things, I believe good is bound to happen. It just there's no other outcome that can happen if you do all those right things, and come from it from the right mindset, heart, all that stuff. So, but yeah, so I think that's part of just being you. I think when you just kind of reflect and just be you. Now, it might take some time to build relationships where that trust happens, but I'm so glad I started those relationships years and years ago with no expectation of getting something from them. I was just giving, giving, giving. And at the right time, my harvest came back to me. That's the way I look at it. A lot of people want to sow seed, sow seed. They understand the principle, but then they're wondering, where's the harvest? Like I want to reap. And now that their heart condition is a lot different, but I think, so they want, so I think there's just something about, it's almost like you can kill your harvest based on your attitude and just wrong expectations or the wrong motives, stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was a great year. So this year we hope to keep that rolling. We're in a good market. So we're definitely keep pushing. I'm still do a lot of work with Carrot, which is probably my passion. I mean, I think that's why I do what I do, because I want the freedom to do what I want. And that's been what I do with Carrot. I mean, Trevor, he's like a brother to me. He's actually one of my lenders. So I mean, me and him had a great year together. I think he probably invested into maybe 3 or 4 deals. So I was, so cool to, it's beneficial. So, but yeah, Carrot. And then main important thing is just trying to be a better dad. Being, that's such a cliche. I mean, I think that's not, but life is so short, guys. I think that's one thing that I've learned in 2021 or 2020 was life is short. The things that we thought it was important is probably not as important. And if there's ever time to be intentional with our thoughts, with our actions, everything, our health. I mean, I still struggle with that. Just me and you were talking about, that before we came on. There's still some mental blocks there, but I love what you said, is that sometimes we just got to sit back and just really do a check. Like, hey, why am I getting these results? What's the root of it? And sometimes it's easy just to cut off the top, but sometimes, man, like we just got to just be real with ourselves and know, like, man, I got to rip out that root cause. And most times it's not comfortable. It's not easy. Sometimes you feel ashamed so the process is not easy, but if you really want to make that change in your life, we got to stop cutting off the top, because it's not going anywhere. We got to dig deep, which is a lot of work, and rip out that root. So, but again, I think if there's something I've learned is, in going into 2021 is just really be more intentional, with our actions, because life is short. It's just, as we all get older, life is short. I remember when I was in my 20s, I used to make fun of people that are my age now, and but now I'm not that age. So so yeah, man. So that's where I'll say that, and yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, a lot of consistency with who you are as a person, and giving, tithing, stuff like that. And it's interesting, I guess, like the being you conversation for you. You didn't plan on doing that many flips, but just kind of how the numbers ran, and it sounds like even more so the opportunities that you sowed with people pretty much begging you to give you, not begging, but people offering to give you money to loan out, just put you in position to do that. And we talked about, or you mentioned a little bit as far as like that, like being you is really powerful, kind of knowing your truth, who you are as a person, what you like, what's your reason for being in business, which a lot of people have gotten to this real estate space in general for better quality of life and freedom and stuff like that. I want to talk a little bit about the kids, because you share a lot about them on social media, and that's awesome to see. Definitely not cliche at all to be a good parent, good dad, good mother, whoever's listening to this. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. But one thing that I saw was interesting before we dive into the kids that goes along with the Go-Giver. I thought you may have brought this up as you were talking there, giving a little bit of the State of the Union and being you and consistency. Is in December you took out some cash, I noticed.
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, I
you
remember.
started
Okay.
just blessing people in the service industry because people
Yeah,
are going through
yeah,
tough times. And it talks about, and it really is a mindset, guys. And as Adrian was talking, I was almost thinking about how to describe this because I had very similar conversations with Nick Perry, who's a nationwide wholesaler doing 40 plus deals a month. Nick Alarud, one of the biggest home buyers in Boston, he does 100 plus deals a year of all asset classes.
that's
And
crazy.
it's very similar conversations. It's almost like when you feed your brain just simple thought pattern, like fork in the road thought patterns where it can go one way or the other. When you do that for certain things, like having the mindset of always being abundant and giving, that's kind of how like your brain is plugged in just for that specific thought pattern that you go down. Um, it makes it easy for the brain to act like that when you're able to string a few days, a few weeks together like that consistently. And that's what Adrian's had success with, starting 5+ years ago. So I want to talk a little bit about the decision to do that, which is probably going to overlap a little bit with what we've been talking about already.
Sure.
And then I saw that you even did a little bit of a like a private presentation on that for the Ascend Mastermind with Alex and Steve Cavanaugh, Alex Pardo and Steve Cavanaugh, because I know a few people in there that posted and said it was an awesome presentation that you give. But what kind of made you do that? What was kind of like your results from doing that? Because I haven't actually really talked to you about like the results
Yeah,
from doing that or what you've sowed. And it's probably tied in a little bit to, the
sure.
business and the health and everything like that.
So here's kind of, I'll hopefully I can just compact this in a very short way because I don't want to blabber on and stuff like that. But so here's the thing that's interesting too, though, and this kind of fits into how I'm going to answer that. So it's interesting when I posted that, there's a few people that kind of just made it, hey, like, real givers don't really talk about what them giving, like, which is true. I mean, it is biblical that says, hey, don't blab out what you're doing, which I believe in that principle, but that's not where I was coming from. So there's a few people that I felt like were almost critical of me doing that, which is okay. You're going to have that. But then at the same time, you can also see people operate and criticize out of a scarcity mindset, out of a fearful mindset, because they don't see themselves doing it because it's too bold of a move for them. So I don't tell them this to people, but like, hey, just the fact that you criticize, you should really evaluate why you're coming with me at that, because that should tell you a lot. I don't have to say anything. But here's the thing. Um, Before that incident, and there's a lot of times to where 5 years ago, when we really, again, back to principle, guys, and sowing seed is 5 years ago. I remember I was at this church. We were at this church, and this was when we were rebuilding, we were starting, and we didn't really have as much resource. We were very, very careful with our finances. But I remember I made the decision to give $1,000 to our church, and I didn't have the $1,000. And I felt like that was my big moment, because when you give something you don't have, I think there's just something that happens in the, I call it spirit realm or whatever. There's just something that breaks, I believe. And I remember from that moment, I broke that. It's kind of like, we all live life like this, trying to hold on to everything that we have and in survival mode. So, but what happens, more incredible things happens when you just kind of let it go, So that moment when me and my wife, we gave that $1,000, like that was a lot. That was crazy, crazy. Like, that'd probably be equivalent to me maybe giving, $250,000 to something. I mean, it's crazy. So anyways, in that moment, I feel like I was kind of freed from the poverty mindset, or I was freed from whatever. And from then, we've always been givers. So, I mean, we probably have done so much more than we don't share. Like when we're out and we see police officers or people, military, I don't know how many times that we picked up their bill, whether it was like $12, whether it's 25, even if it's $100, if there's multiple officers eating at the same time. We've done that over the years. So here's the thing, guys. I've always felt like if you can't give away $5, you'll never go away 20. If you can't give away 50, you'll never give away 100. So we kind of grew into that. And this year was the first time I wasn't ashamed of being a giver. Sometimes you can feel guilty, like, oh, I don't want to come across like I'm bragging. I don't want, but my point is, hey, if I can give this certain amount, how many other people can I inspire to give the same amount? So what happens now is my $1,000, or how much it is, now became 50,000 because I inspired 15 other people to do the same thing. Right. So, and you're just, you're bringing hope to people. And that was the crazy part. So we did multiple things this past Christmas. Because I felt like I was so thankful to God that we had the best year ever in our business. So obviously we should also give the best. So this past year, we teamed up with a UFC fighter to give away gift cards. Me and his foundation, we teamed up and gave away $25 gift cards to 40 families. My listing agent, she hosted a toy drive for kids. So we donated like $500 worth of diapers. So, and then also that giving with the service people. Yeah. So we just took out, I think we took out $1,000 cash. And then, yeah, anytime we went out, we like to eat, we went out, we gave tips. And what was amazing with that was what $20 means to me and you. It's amazing what it means to someone else. I mean, even before the giving 3 months ago, I just felt we went to, I think it was Outback. We went there and our bill was, we have a family of 5, so it's never going to be cheap. So I think our bill was like 150, and I ended up doubling that. And I don't think I shared that one, but man, she like came over and like, are you serious? Like, are you serious? Like, yeah, like, I just want to bless you. And she just shared like how that was in the moment where she just needed it, like that day like was her breaking point where she needed a certain amount, and God answered her prayers. It's amazing how we can become a tool for God, or if you want to say the universe or whatever, is that we can become a tool for hope. And that could be our gift, and that comes through giving. Sometimes just giving an encouragement, that's a seed. It could be just a smile, that can be a seed, and of course, money, that is a seed. So what we did this past year, one was just to be thankful up to God that, hey, thank you for protecting us, keeping us, and thriving. And not just because I don't think he just did it he decided to do it just because it's 2020. It's just, we were prepared. And over the years of just sowing and giving. And I believe that's why it also opened up doors. And it's funny how I've been able to meet as many investors, high performing investors, open up doors to relationships so fast, because I believe it's because we served for so long, doors were open quickly. Like I feel like I came out of nowhere to where now I'm asked to speak at this event, or, hey, can you do a podcast, or, hey, can you do a coaching call? I believe it was just all those seeds that we sown to have a servant's heart that opened the door, and things just happen quickly. So guys, I think your acceleration to your success it depends on the ability of how much you're giving now, on how fast that happens. I really 100% believe that. So, and we're trying to teach that to the kids. We want to lead by example. So this, kind of back to your question, when we did that during Christmas, I want them to watch. That's all I wanted to do, because kids are very, very observant. They're smarter than sometimes we give them credit for, but they're observant. The things they pick up, they're thinking. Their brain is processing, and they're connecting the dots. So they just watch. When we bless a police officer or when we're out, I'm just having them watch, because I'm just planting seed in their head, and I know. Either someone else will come along and water that seed so they'll better understand it, or we as parents can come back and nurture that seed that's already there. But because one thing that changed my mindset with kids is, guys, I had a mentor tell me this one time. She goes, kids are at an age to where they're creating your mindset. As adults, we spend our life trying to renew our mindset. So when she said that, I was like, so powerful that, wow, like that tells me that it's so important what the kids are being exposed to, and at their age, and they're always going to carry it. So do I want to make them live life harder down the road, that they're going to have to change their perspective because I didn't give them a good seed that they can grow in? So I think, it's kind of like if you leave a fruit out on the stand, on the counter, it's either, it's nature that's going to rot if it just leaves there, if you leave it to itself. Right. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Sometimes, even though we're providing for our kids, we're buying them the things that they want, that you're not, that's not nurturing. Nurturing comes through intentionally spending time with them, explaining stuff, tell them what's right, what's wrong, telling them the consequence, tell them, hey, not holding things back. Say, hey, life is hard. Either you're going to thrive or you're going to survive. Even when I take them to MMA class or jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, I said, listen, I'd rather you learn the hard lesson that, hey, life can be a bully and you have to learn how to deal with it. And best in a controlled environment, because what happens if it happens outside in an uncontrolled environment? Are you gonna be able to ever take care of yourself? So just little stuff like that. And I never want to be that parent that just tries to live through your kids. I mean, it's easy to see that in MMA. I see so many parents take their kids to MMA because they want to be a fighter and they're trying to live through their kids. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the mistakes we make as business people, is that we want our kids to follow our entrepreneur spirit. Sometimes that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. I'm accepting to that. I know I got 3 kids, and I know 2 of them are probably not going to be entrepreneurs, and I'm okay with that. But my job should be to prepare them to be financially educated, so as they learn that, as they understand it, now they can do whatever they want and not be restricted to work a job just because it pays the bills, right? So it's a slow process, but I know it will pay off.
Love that, man. Really good stuff from Adrian here. And it's just so many simple little things. Like I was just talking my last speaking point about like how you word things, how that's like how you're choosing to plug your brain into a certain thing. So like how Adrian talks about like help surviving and thriving, and more so helping sellers instead of getting a contract, like he mentioned.
Yeah.
Super powerful.
No, I love that. And I think if some of you are jumping on, because hoping you're getting a marketing tip, what we're talking about is, I think this plays out more so in your marketing. I think if there's ever a time that we got to just be you, be us, be ourselves, is now. People want transparency. People want authenticity. People want people who are real. The biggest mistake that we make as investors, and this might sound harsh, but the biggest mistake we have as investors is we think just because someone's motivated that they're dumb. Okay. Now, I don't think we think they're dumb, but I think sometimes we think, oh, just if they're motivated, we can tell them what to do and they're just going to follow. Like especially those who have carrot websites. Sometimes we talk about high converting websites. We talk about highly motivated leads. Those produce the best type of leads, which is 100% true, but you still have to nurture those through your process. And, so to me, when you're not yourself, because I think it's easy in our industry to be like other investors we see successful. Like there's only one Nick Perry, there's only one Carlos, there's only one Trevor. And when we try to mimic how people are having success, sometimes I think we try to model that. But at the same time, we have so much value that we don't see within ourselves. We just don't let that person out. Like me being an introvert, I don't, it's uncomfortable to be around people sometimes, but I have to continue working at that. And the best way to work on that is just be yourself. And I think sellers will see that. Sellers will so back to what I said, sellers are not dumb just because they're motivated. They see, they still want to deal with people that they trust, that they feel comfortable with. And, that's why I think rapport is so, and we talk a lot about rapport, but sometimes I think when we talk about rapport, we want to use techniques to manipulate sometimes. The true intent of rapport, I believe, it really should just be you. Right now, of course, there are some stuff that I've learned over the years, like Sean Terry. I've learned a lot from him through his courses and just through people. So don't get me wrong, guys. There are techniques that can kind of help navigate the conversation, or it can help you pick up on certain things. So I'm not saying those are not important. I mean, there's some really great sales guys out there. Like one of my favorite is Steve Trang is one that really, I think he was on your podcast not long ago, but he's one of my favorites. And so there's people out there that definitely can teach you those things that are very valuable, but the foundation of that should really come from who you are, just being real. Being in North Carolina, I mean, it's funny. People always say, hey, like, do you ever get slack from sellers because they think that you're Hispanic or you're brown skin. I said, no. I said, you know, um, I've never had that issue because I feel like when you're just real, even the most hateful person has to like you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's such a powerful principle, guys, is if you're just you, and you have a solution that someone needs, the most hateful person has no choice but to conform and liking you. I mean, and now, of course, in the perfect world, that doesn't always happen. No, I mean, that's just, it is what it is. You know, we live in a world of hate and unfortunate, division and stuff like that. But, but what I'm talking about is you increase your probability to very high of accomplishing what you want to accomplish just by being you. Believe in yourself that you have the ability, assets, and the demeanor, the personality that, none of us are accidents. So we all have something within us that just needs to be brought out. And it's never going to be brought out when we try to be like other people. So that's my comment on that.
Very, very well said. I love how you talk about that, incorporating that same principle and dynamic into your marketing, into your online marketing and stuff like that. I'm thinking of a couple insights from just my perspective, how you're talking about like life is really short. And for me, how I've always been, and I've especially been more intentional since I've been in my more so professional career, especially with like InvestorFuse the last 5 years after wholesaling. But with thinking about how short life is, like when you're meeting people or having interactions with people, a couple kind of guiding principles that I live through is one, with life being so short, like I love just being as authentic and vulnerable as I possibly can be. Sometimes I can't be fully vulnerable. I'm still, working on that. And I think everybody will for the rest of their life. But like that just helps you talk about rapport. There's definitely amazing salespeople out there. And some of it can be, somewhat seen as manipulative, but I think there's a lot of great people that are not manipulative that teach that. But as far as building rapport, man, if you meet people and you're just authentic and transparent, and some of the guiding principles I have just in conversation is like, I like having conversations that people typically wait to be like on their deathbed or the person they're talking to on their deathbed to have. Like if you start having those deep conversations just with people that you talk to in passing, you're just going to be able to build rapport, be yourself fully, which is where you're just flowing and not thinking so much. And you can just be you. And then the second principle that kind of is related to that I live through as well is, again, I'm not perfect, but I do shoot for it. Like any interaction I have with somebody in a day, whether it's interviewing Adrian or meetings I have, or if I'm checking out at the grocery store, saying what's up to the person at the gym, I want that to be the most memorable interaction that person has that day. It's not going to, I'm not Steph Curry shooting from the free throw line, 95% or something like that with what I do it. But having been doing that for years, has brought me a lot of not just joy and having fun with it, but just a lot of good relationships that have stacked on top of each other. And that having that intention of, I want that to be the most memorable interaction. Like when Adrian goes to bed tonight, I want him to be like, damn, me and Lowe's had a good conversation. And, we didn't even talk real estate stuff that much, just talk about the family and being you and consistency. But those are two insights or guiding points that I would share that I've been doing for a long time in my life that has definitely, sowed seeds for me as far as just being authentic and transparent and vulnerable as possible. And also just like, I want me to be the most memorable interaction that person had, whether it's like bringing them joy or happiness, love, laughter, like everything from like an authentic and a genuine place is super powerful.
It's interesting you say this too, is a hard lesson I learned. And I say a hard lesson because it's very valuable, but it's interesting you say that, just going through your day and wanting to have impact. An example of that I learned is a couple of years ago, me and my wife went out. I think we had a day out. I think we're shopping for Christmas. We were out, so we sat down at Wendy's, we're having a quick lunch. But then one of the workers was sweeping, and he came over, young kid, probably 17, 18. He came over and he was sweeping. And then all of a sudden he just kind of came over and just started talking to us. And then he just started, the way I perceived it was he was dumping, he dumped on us, meaning all of his problems, all the struggles he's having. And I remember sitting there like thinking, being very judgmental. I mean, that's really what I was doing, was like, man, like, why would someone go up to a stranger and dump all their problems on them? They don't even know them. So I was like being critical. So I was like, so I made that statement. Anyways, I was talking to someone else. I think it was actually it might have been my pastor. It might have been my in-laws, someone, but man, so I think it might have been my in-laws. And so my wife we were talking about our day, and that we brought that up. And then she said something very convicting. She goes, what if God positioned you at that moment that you could just be a vessel for that guy just clear his head? By him just getting that off of his head, it could have prevented him from him killing himself that night, right? Or him doing something stupid, that someone just listened. So man, when I heard that, like, I felt so convicted. And so now, and also Pete, same thing. Pete from the team showed me, because Pete has such a passion for homeless people, and he said one thing that always stood out to me is that when you see a homeless people or a homeless person, look at them in the eye, because that shows that, hey, you still respect them. She goes, and that's so true, because sometimes you'll see someone on the street, and the last thing you want to do is make eye connection. For whatever reason. I'm guilty of that. But when he said that and saw the hope behind just giving someone a just acknowledgement, how far that goes with that person, even though it's no big deal to us, how that goes a big deal. So guys, I think we all are always positioned daily to make some type of impact. It may not be a big impact, but it might just be someone just giving that person a glimpse of hope. Like, hey, all people not everybody's bad. Or, hey, sometimes we just need someone we can just be that vessel for someone just to vent to and just get that off their chest. Because when there's so much buildup in ourselves, man, at some point we're going to explode if we don't release it. So we could have been that tool for him at that moment. And so when I heard that, I felt so convicted. So I try to be mindful too, is just when I go out, and just say hi, and I think that's where that whole thing came from too, is giving service providers hope. Like, hey, like, I'm with you. Like, hey, there's good people. So I'm glad you guys brought that up, because I think so I say that too. Sometimes maybe some people may not be in a position to give money like that, but also I think we all have a seed that we can sow daily, just by being nice, being smiling at someone, or just saying hello, or opening the door for someone. I'm still amazed to this day where people are so shocked when you open the door for them. Like to me and you, it might be just so simple mannerism, like it's just proper etiquette. But I think that just shows you just how the world can be very cruel. And there's a lot of people that receives that end of it. But, some of us can kind of help just bring hope and just bring a smile to someone, because everyone has issues. We all have issues. I got issues. I still battle a lot of stuff. And I'm very transparent with it, because I think everyone is always looking for someone to be transparent, because I think our human nature, sometimes we all are, the condemnation that we have with ourselves, that we think we're the only one that is going through it. So we feel bad. But then how much freedom do we get when we hear someone having the same struggle, or when someone says, hey, I'm struggling with this too. So I think it takes boldness for that one person, or that first person, to step forward and say, hey, I got these issues, and then when that happens, usually someone says the same thing. Because I've shared stuff like Alex Pardo. I shared one time, we did an episode on marriage. I was on the brink of divorce. We were separated, and I was open about it. And I got so much response privately from other people in our industry that said, hey, like, people you would think that had all their crap together, reach out and say, hey, dude, like, thank you for doing that. Like, that made me feel better, because I'm going through the same thing, and he felt like he was alone. So guys, be open, be willing to just be true to yourself, because when you're true to yourself, you have the ability to help a lot more people, not just in business, but in life. And even your kids, do this, share the same thing. Like my kids, We get so much compliments when we go out because they're well behaved and they use manners because we taught them. My kids, they order their own food. They have to look at the waitress or the waiter in the eye and order their own food loudly and clearly. So we put in position to respect people, no matter what they do, no matter what service they provide. No one's above each other. And at the end of the day, we're so that's part of the whole preparation too of why I try to do what I do. I don't always hit it, but as long as you're consistent, good things happen.
Very well said. And that's an amazing foundation, everything we've been talking on this episode to have, in addition to the specialized knowledge that you guys are learning in real estate, in marketing, the masterminds that you guys are in. So absolutely amazing stuff. Adrian, I'm sure we'll do another episode at some point in the future. Make sure to follow, if you guys are on Instagram, which most of you guys are, make sure to follow _Adrian_Nez on Instagram. He's talking about this stuff all the time, which is absolutely amazing. And he's just a good guy to connect with if you don't know him already. So definitely make sure that you follow him on Instagram. Is there anywhere else to connect with you, Adrian, that's better than Instagram?
No, right now, that's just my focus. Like I said, I think I'm so busy trying to be a good dad, be a husband, try to be a good business guy. And I don't know how people do it when they're on there all the time. That's just so, but I love connecting with Instagram. Instagram is definitely a little bit better platform, more positivity, less drama. Which like I said, you have to be mindful and guard what goes into your mind. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy. So because once a seed is planted, both good and bad, there is a harvest. So we got to be very careful. And there's also bad harvests. So it's just when we say harvest, it's not the good. So there's always a consequence when we allow something to go in our mind, and we could either be thriving or battling, surviving, trying to root out that seed that you allowed in at some point. And so guys, so with that said, I enjoy Instagram a little bit more. And guys, feel free to reach out. Any questions? I respond pretty well on Instagram. I just enjoy that. So if you reach out, I highly likely will respond because it's where I'm at. So.
A pleasure and a privilege. Greatly appreciate you, man. Always massively rooting for your success and happiness in life. Guys, to recap, this is an amazing time to double down on being you, not just in your own life, but in your marketing, maybe even potentially in your online marketing and how you talk to sellers. Being you, being consistent with that message, being consistent in your relationships. You're going to flow through life a lot easier, be a lot more fulfilled, and have a lot more success. So make sure to reach out to Adrian. Send me anything I can help you guys on, carlos@investorfuse.com or on Instagram, Adrian. I'm sure we'll tag Adrian on the post here when the episode goes out at itslos21. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you guys got some value from this episode and can use it to better your life and business.
Awesome.